Tonight, the world on edge. Russia blamed for a deadly missile strike in Poland, triggering panic. Deliveroo skips the country, shutting down its Australian operations without warning. Treasurer Tim Pallas under fire in a polling booth confrontation. Medibank executives set to pocket millions in bonuses as they admit to cybersecurity failures. 8 charged over a fatal attack in Melbourne's northwest. And big baby news in a first for our zoo.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. The world has been left on edge with the war in Ukraine entering a frightening new phase after a deadly missile strike in Poland. Military forces were placed on alert after Russia was blamed for launching the 2 missiles, but tonight there are indications it may not have been responsible for the attack.
In remote rural Poland, emergency vehicles race towards the scene of Europe's latest flashpoint. A missile strike on farmland, 2 people killed. But it's the first strike outside Ukraine into NATO territory. It sent regional tensions soaring.
This is CNN breaking news.
Missiles have reportedly landed in Poland near its border with Ukraine.
The impact zone, 10 kilometres inside Poland's border. No obvious military targets nearby. Photos at the scene show damaged farm equipment, surely an accident, but potentially triggering NATO's Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all. Poland's National Security Committee urgently convened. We've placed our combat forces onto a state of readiness, and from the President, Andrzej Duda, the protection of Poland has been strengthened. The incident happened as Russia rained missiles down on neighbouring Ukraine, targeting energy infrastructure, plunging 7 million into blackouts and killing 2. Retaliation, said analysts, for both Ukraine's pivotal victory in Kherson this month and President Volodymyr Zelensky's video call for peace at the G20 summit overnight. Russia is told about peace, he said, but fires missiles in response. He demanded action, but from the West, caution.
We're not going to get ahead of ourselves here. We're going to get the facts.
And within hours, the US President himself in Bali at G20 was raising doubts the missile was actually Russian-launched.
It's unlikely in the minds of the trajectory that it was fired from Russia, but we'll see.
Hinting initial investigations had found it could be one of these. Ukraine anti-missile systems possibly firing at and missing an inbound Russian missile. The investigations on the ground are continuing.
It makes no difference because still the reason is Russian aggression.
Russia has denied responsibility, claiming the strike was a deliberate provocation from the West.
Ukrainians worldwide are using the incident to again call on the West to offer more support and assistance, warning this shows just how easily the conflict could spill over into a region already on edge.
A message backed by the Australian government.
There is always a risk of escalation and miscalculation. That is why Russia should withdraw.
Chris Reason, 7 News.
The strike on Poland triggered a rapid reaction at the G20 summit in Bali, where US President Joe Biden convened an urgent meeting of leaders.
They've been totally unconscionable of what they're doing.
Mr Biden was woken by staffers with news of the attack and immediately called Polish President Andrzej Duda. To breaking news now, and food delivery giant Deliveroo has announced it's pulling out of Australia effective immediately. Details are just coming through to Estelle Griepink. And Estelle, it's a major blow to Melbourne's hospitality industry.
Well, Mitch, this shock decision will affect about 12,000 restaurants and about 15,000 riders and drivers, with Deliveroo admitting this afternoon it simply can't compete with the likes of Uber Eats, DoorDash and Menulog. The UK-based platform has already pulled out of Germany and Taiwan, and as of tonight, Australian customers will no longer be able to place orders. The company says riders will receive a 4-week payout. That's based on their average earnings, and some restaurants will receive compensation. Administrators have now been appointed and the first creditors meeting will be later this month. Mitch?
Estelle Griepink in the city, thank you. Treasurer Tim Pallas has come under fire in a polling booth showdown in Melbourne's West. State political editor Chanel Vella has the details. Chanel, the confrontation was caught on camera and is now in the hands of police.
Well, that's right. With just 10 days to go, there are some tensions out at polling booths, but Tim Pallas says he will not be deterred, and despite this incident, he will keep turning up in Werribee.
G'day, Tim. How you going?
Good. Up close and personal with the state's treasurer.
Why are you getting so close to me? I don't know. Why are you filming me?
Behind the camera is Freedom Party candidate for Werribee, Mark Strother.
Hey, that's assault. You touched me. You tried to steal my camera.
Don't do that.
Hey?
Please don't do that. He continues to film Tim Pallas for another 60 seconds as a Labor volunteer asks him to be courteous. Mr Strother has lodged a complaint with the VEC. So too has Labor, the party also complaining to Victoria Police, concerned about bullying and harassment.
Tim Pallas is an outstanding Victorian and a very important part of my team, and someone who is passionate about Werribee.
Daniel Andrews was at the Royal Women's Hospital today, promising $79 million for women's health.
We're going to double the amount of endometriosis surgery that is provided in our public hospital system, free of charge.
There's also a $3 million pledge for an inquiry into how women's pain is managed.
They're told, you'll be fine, you're tired, that's just part of being a woman.
Matthew Guy was put to work, announcing a plan for a Love Victoria campaign which uses stickers to tell consumers which products are made here.
We've announced this policy some time ago, so it's been around since last year, and we've announced subsets to it. Today's another part of that.
And we want to ensure that it is front and centre in the minds, on the supermarket shelves, wherever you go, you see the Victorian-made logo, loud and proud.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
4 children have been charged over the murder of a man in Melbourne's northeast. Paul Dowsley has tonight's developments from Heidelberg. And Paul, police pounced at Melbourne Airport.
This has been a big operation, Mitch, after the murder and a kidnapping a month ago today. The homicide squad, with the help of the Border Force and Australian Federal Police, have now all up arrested 9 boys and young men, 4 of them at Melbourne Airport. 8 have now been charged after a 25-year-old man from Thomastown was stabbed to death at a house in North Crescent in Heidelberg West. And another man aged 20 from Reservoir was kidnapped that same day. 4 of those charged with the murder and kidnapping are 17-year-old boys. The other is 19. 3 others face charges over just the kidnapping, and 2 of them are aged just 16. Detectives say, Mitch, this is not over yet. There could be more charges, and again they've repeated their request for any members of the public who know about anything about the kidnapping or the murder to contact them.
Paul Dowsley at Heidelberg, thank you. The Immigration Minister is under fire over a shock decision to reinstate Novak Djokovic's visa. The border backflip paves the way for the tennis star to create history at January's Australian Open.
No official confirmation from the Immigration Minister, who used privacy to smash Djokovic questions.
Now, look, obviously I'm aware of the media reports, but I can't comment on individual cases.
The Australian public deserve the right.
He does owe the public an explanation, and he should come out and say why he's taken the decision that he's taken. Otherwise, it looks like special treatment for one individual.
Just before the Australian Open, Djokovic had his visa revoked because he was unvaccinated. He was deported with a mandatory 3-year ban on returning. Rarely are they ever revoked.
It's pretty unusual. Normally when these bans are overturned, it's usually on some sort of compelling and compassionate grounds. I doubt that was the factor in the Djokovic case.
On Monday in Italy, Djokovic confirmed his lawyers were trying.
They are communicating with the government of Australia, and that's all I can tell you for now.
But beyond the political debate, players and commentators around the world said they would welcome the return of Djokovic to the Australian Open.
Well, I'm ecstatic, actually. I think it's a great move. It's great for Djokovic.
and most importantly, it's great for the tournament and great for tennis.
McEnroe said the current world number 8 would start favourite to win and equal Nadal's record of 22 Grand Slam titles.
But Djokovic, to me, right now, is still the best player on the planet.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Australia is a step closer to restoring its trading relationship with China. Anthony Albanese has broken a 6-year drought of leader-to-leader talks, meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20 in Bali.
It is clearly in Australia's interest to export some of the fine products that we have. It's in China's interest to receive those fine products.
The Prime Minister says the meeting was warm, positive and honest. Medibank executives will pocket millions in bonuses despite the recent cyber attack. The chairman was grilled by shareholders in Melbourne today, conceding his company's IT security simply wasn't good enough.
If the Medibank board expected a shareholder grilling, the heat was mostly on low.
Will the board be nominating itself for a Nobel Prize?
No, but thank you for your support of us.
A shareholder vote allowing executives to keep bonuses worth more than $7 million, while more than 9 million customers worry about their stolen private health data.
I unreservedly apologise to every person for the significant impact of this crime. It's a despicable act.
And one to be explored by an independent review. Medibank claims it's now contacting 480,000 customers after verifying their sensitive health data has been compromised.
We are steadfast in our resolve to not reward this criminal behaviour.
One shareholder criticised communication about the hack, revealing she's also a victim.
What are you looking at to remove the data from the dark web?
I don't think that's something that Medibank can do.
Medibank says it's put an extra 300 people in its customer contact centres to reach out to all of the hacking victims. The health insurer expects it to cost up to $35 million in support payments for those whose data was stolen. Almost $2 billion has been wiped off the health insurer's market value in the past month.
I don't think the shareholders are too bothered. A little bit concerned as to what might happen over the next 6 months.
The stolen data will be around much longer. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Donald Trump has officially declared he's running for president again. But America's 45th Commander-in-Chief will need to defy history if he's to make a White House return.
His political campaign never ended, but now Donald Trump is recharged.
Are you getting ready?
For a rerun.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Relishing the news, loyalists outside his Florida mansion.
4 more years, baby.
While inside Mar-a-Lago's gilded ballroom, no sign of senior Republican Party leadership. America's 45th president again casting himself as a Washington outsider.
This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign.
His last campaign failed to deliver a midterm Republican red wave last week. Many of his hand-picked candidates suffering bruising defeats. Just like them, he was beaten in 2020. The one-term president was twice impeached. He's facing 2 criminal investigations for taking classified documents when he left the White House and for his role in inciting an insurrection on January 6.
Do you believe that Donald Trump should ever be president again?
David, I think that's up to the American people. But I think we'll have better choices in the future.
The race to the White House has started in Florida, but Trump won't be the only dog in the fight. Senior Republicans are looking at who else might lead the party in a post-Trump era, and one name stands out.
Thank you for a historic landslide victory.
The Sunshine State's rising star basking in a thumping 20-point re-election victory.
I would just tell people to go check out the scoreboard from last Tuesday night.
And has Republicans now asking, could he repeat it on a national level?
We love Ron DeSantis. We campaigned for him. He's the best governor in the world, but we want Trump for president.
America's comeback starts right now.
And US Bureau Chief Ashley Mullaney is outside Mar-a-Lago. Ashley, talk us through what Donald Trump's campaign might look like.
Well, Peter, Donald Trump spoke for a little over an hour tonight, but he largely stuck to a script that he's been delivering at his rallies for months. There certainly wasn't that fire and fury that we're used to seeing from him. He's made this announcement unusually early, perhaps to get ahead of his other political rivals. As for his supporters, it is notable that neither Ivanka or Don Jr. were there tonight, so perhaps this campaign will be less of a family affair. Peter?
Ashley Mullaney in Florida, thank you. Tesla is urgently recalling more than 1,000 cars in Australia because of a steering fault. The Federal Transport Department says the issue is affecting the electric car makers Model S and Model X vehicles sold between 2017 and 2020. More than 300 Model 3 Teslas were recalled a fortnight ago due to a seatbelt issue. New South Wales is in the grip of a deadly flood emergency. Annie Puller is in Eugowra, 300 kilometres west of Sydney this evening. Annie, the body of a 60-year-old woman was found in floodwaters.
Peter, it's more heartache for a community that simply cannot handle any more suffering. It was just after lunchtime police recovered the body of that 60-year-old missing woman believed to be Diane Smith. Speaking to the woman's family, 7 News understands the grandmother was last seen clinging to a vehicle when a wall of water hit this town so hard at such a ferocious speed it caught nearly every single person off guard. As we go to air, I can tell you police are continuing their search for a missing man, 85-year-old Les Vujic. His family are tonight holding hope emergency services will find him safe, but they know his chances of survival are fading as each day passes. It has been an incredibly distressing day for the entire town here, as many residents have returned to face this carnage for the first time. On every street, on every single corner, it is a scene of disaster. The cleanup is just beginning as we go to air. This rebuild is going to be weeks, possibly months in the making. Peter?
Annie Puller in Eugowra, thank you. The AFL Umpires Association is rallying around Michael Pell, who's at the centre of a Brownlow medal betting scandal.
Personal concern, there's obviously human side to all this. Our role is to provide support.
The first-year umpire was one of 4 men arrested, accused of placing bets on the results of at least 10 different AFL matches. A Richmond star has come under fire for a sinister message. Tim Watson, the AFL, has asked for a please explain.
Mitch, this all stems from the AFLW semi-final on Saturday. Mitch Cleary has the exclusive details, and Jess Hosking has an explosive message, or had an explosive message written on her arm.
Well, Tim, it's these unsavoury comments that have drawn the ire of the league. Hosking receiving a formal warning by the AFL. It was during this game at Punt Road on the weekend that it was visible during the broadcast, clearly written by someone else. Hosking, though, has taken full ownership. The AFL telling 7 News Hosking was extremely remorseful and deeply disappointed in her actions. The AFL has since accepted a letter of apology from Jess and has issued an official warning to not only the club, but Jess herself. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. We'll check back in with you again soon. Also ahead in sport, here exclusively from Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti on his return to Tullamarine. A Melbourne basketballer praised around the world for making a brave call, plus why Pat Cummins could hand back the Aussie captaincy. I'll see you again soon.
OK, thanks very much indeed, Tim. Our schools are facing another challenge as they scramble to find enough teachers. What parents need to know is coming up next. Also, a sickening new crime low in Melbourne's west, a stabbing attack posted to social media. Why gas bills are tipped to soar by up to 300%. Later, the new scam that's hard to spot, while AFL great Shane Crawford shows off his new colours.
And it slowly thaws out for the rest of the week. I'll have the sunnier details later at 7 News.
Victorian schools are facing a shortage of teachers, with job vacancies soaring by almost 40% in the past 12 months. There are now concerns on how schools will be able to deliver their current curricula.
Certainly there is a concern about having enough teachers to run what would be a normal suite of classes. It basically means that schools are going to need to make a choice about what subjects they run.
An increase in workload is one factor being blamed for the exodus. Crime in Melbourne has reached a sickening new low, with a youth filming his own knife attack on an unarmed teenager. Cameron Bowe has an update from the Royal Children's Hospital. Cameron, the video was then uploaded to social media.
Mitch, what makes this crime even more disturbing is that it does appear the attacker has recorded it as it happened. Vision has emerged of the victim being hunted down. The 15-year-old was chased onto a road where he lost his balance and fell. He begged for mercy, but instead was stabbed into the stomach with a knife. The 15-year-old was seriously injured and airlifted to the Royal Children's Hospital. The victim and the attacker had been passengers on a bus. The recording of the attack suggests some level of premeditation. The attacker fled the scene, still armed with the knife, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at Parkville, thank you. The federal government has taken aim at tugboat operator Svitzer, which is threatening to lock its workforce out over a long-standing pay dispute.
What Svitzer are now doing is basically playing a game of blackmail with the Australian economy.
The Danish company is planning to lock out 590 workers from midday on Friday, preventing container ships from docking across the country. Police are putting Melbourne schoolies on notice, declaring a zero-tolerance approach ahead of this week's party period. Hundreds of officers will be deployed across three major operations on the Mornington Peninsula, Phillip Island and the Bellarine Peninsula. Officers are vowing to crack down on illegal drug use and antisocial behaviour. Gas prices could soar by as much as 300% within the next year. It's putting added pressure on the Albanese government to step in and urgently intervene.
With memories of pandemic panic shopping still fresh, Australians no longer take the humble toilet roll for granted. But now, a new twist, with Sorbent facing a 300% hike in its gas bill next year.
Cost pressures mean that we either have to absorb prices or flow them on to consumers.
Spiking gas prices are poised to push local manufacturers of anything from fertiliser to food to the brink.
They're either going to have to close shop on import products.
According to the consumer watchdog, the ACCC, the average gas price offered to manufacturers for 2023 has jumped from around $10 earlier this year to more than double that today. This, as much of Australia's ample gas supply continues to be sent abroad.
Selling to overseas firms and companies and people is far more profitable than selling to Australians.
Gas producers argue the bigger problem is a long-running lack of investment in new supply.
The government says it's considering urgent interventions to push prices down and save the 800,000 local manufacturing jobs that unions warn are at risk. But for now, there's no plan on the table.
It could introduce a windfall profits tax. We know from Australia Institute research that the windfall since the war in Ukraine is about $40 billion.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
Woolworths has scrapped COVID measures ahead of the busy Christmas season. Workers will no longer need to be double vaccinated to get a job, although it's still strongly encouraged. Perspex dividers between self-serve checkouts will be removed and social distancing signs will be taken down. The supermarket giant is one of the first major companies to remove COVID restrictions. A Bayside real estate agent has been ordered to hand over $100,000 after ripping off clients. The details are coming up next. Also, the push to ban cars from the CBD. A new plea as a petrol giant launches an electric drive for the future. And later, a Melbourne sports star's heart-wrenching revelation. A Bayside real estate agent who admitted fleecing clients out of more than $100,000 has been sentenced to 300 hours of community service and a 3-year community corrections order. The judge said Kylie Jane Campbell came perilously close to being jailed. The 49-year-old mother of 2 used the stolen money to fund her own property portfolio. She's been ordered to pay it all back. A 30-year-old man from Footscray is facing drug and gun charges after the bomb squad shut down Racecourse Road in Kensington for 6 hours yesterday. He's been charged with careless and unlicensed driving, possessing an unregistered handgun and possessing ammunition without authority, trafficking and possessing a drug of dependence, believed to be meth. A global planning expert is calling on Melbourne to follow in Barcelona's footsteps to entice people back to the city. He wants to redirect traffic to free up more space for walking and cycling.
Salvador Rueda revolutionised the layout of Barcelona. Now the Spaniard wants to reconfigure Melbourne.
The centre of Melbourne, why not?
Rueda divided Barcelona into super blocks where traffic is slowed and cars can only drive around the perimeter, opening the space up for people, playgrounds, parks, cafes and bikes. Research shows the design reduced noise, accidents and pollution, but increased local trade and exercise.
15% of people is against the proposal, but after 1 year or 1 year and a half, everybody embraced the project.
Rueda says Melbourne's tram network means 12 superblocks could easily be built across the Hoddle grid, but the Premier isn't convinced we need it.
Our bars are full, our restaurants are full, our hotels are full. We are back.
The proposal for Melbourne's CBD comes as fears grow over the future of the Docklands Star. 14 months since the wheels shut down, it still hasn't been purchased or moved, prompting calls from local traders for urgent action.
Looking as it does currently is a little bit of a reminder of the pain that Docklands and Melbourne has seen since the pandemic.
Administrators are still trying to claw back close to $4 million in debt, but no deadline has been set for a decision on what to do with the wheel.
We really want to see it back in action.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
NASA's attempt to return to the moon is a step closer tonight with the launch of the Artemis 1 rocket at Cape Canaveral in the last half hour.
3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together.
The Orion crew capsule will orbit the moon for around 2 weeks before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean next month. One of the world's biggest fuel retailers has unveiled an ambitious plan to install hundreds of electric chargers across Australia. It's hoped the new technology will increase the take-up of electric vehicles and eventually make them cheaper.
Petrol stations with electric chargers are hard to find. BP is determined to change that, installing its third Australian charger, the latest in Brighton East. Next year, 50 will be rolled out nationwide, a practice already common in Europe.
We're a few years ahead of us. We're already seeing some fuel station being converted into EV charging stations completely.
Drivers pay using an app. A 10-minute charge adds a range of 75 kilometres.
The average charge will cost around $9 to $15, and so if you compare that to the average fill-up of petrol at the moment, it's quite a significant saving.
The chargers are made in Brisbane and exported to more than 40 countries. While rare here, there are already enough installed to service a trip right across the east coast.
The thing that I say to people is 80-90% of the time you'll charge at home. You'll just plug it into the wall socket and that's where you'll charge.
They say that the only people with range anxiety are people who drive petrol cars.
At the moment, electric vehicles aren't an affordable family car. Australian governments could help change that with policies that encourage a larger second-hand market.
Because I don't want this to be something that's about rich people. It actually has to be available for anyone who wants to pick a car.
Electric vehicles account for just over 3% of Australia's new car sales. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Victorian bank customers are being caught out by a new spoof scam. Next, expert advice on how to protect yourself from hackers. Also coming up, a shopper injured as a car runs out of control in Melbourne's east. Shane Crawford shows off his new colours in a showbiz career change. And after sport, a big new baby arrival at Melbourne Zoo. A shopper has been badly injured after an out-of-control car ploughed into a Box Hill greengrocer. Details are coming through to Jodie Lee in the newsroom. And Jodie, take us through what happened here.
Mitch, a customer inside Nick's fruit shop has suffered serious lower body injuries after they were hit by a car while out shopping. It happened around 4:30 this afternoon. It's understood a car accelerated into the front of the store, trapping that person. Now, firefighters worked to free them before they were taken by ambulance to the Royal Melbourne Hospital for treatment. The female driver of the car was also checked over at the time, but thankfully wasn't hurt. And while terrifying for all involved, police do believe this was simply a tragic accident and don't expect to lay charges. Mitch?
Jodie Lee in the newsroom, thank you. A sophisticated new scam is catching out NAB customers with fears other banks will also soon fall victim. Cyber criminals are infiltrating genuine text message exchanges, trying to steal personal information and money.
As a NAB customer, Mike Haynes is used to receiving text updates from the bank. His latest message looked legitimate, but it wasn't. It was written by a fraudster.
It just told me to ring this number if I didn't want a pay ID to go through and quote a reference.
So he did.
He actually told me that my account had been hacked.
But when he became suspicious,
I just said to him, look, I'm going to ring the 1300 number, and he hung up on me.
The scammers use software, usually from the dark web, to spoof or copy the bank's number so their text appears in the existing thread between you and the bank.
They're wanting to get your information, firstly, but secondly, these scams that have recently been happening, they're trying to get your money.
But banks will never ask for personal details or to transfer money via a link.
Do not feel pressured to do anything. Whilst your money is in your bank account, it is safe.
NAB says it's seen a spike in this type of scam over the past 2 months. And while it's working on an hourly basis to prevent this criminal activity, the bank has confirmed its systems have not been breached, so customers' data is secure.
It is not a breach of NAB systems in any way, shape or form.
Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
The escalation of the war in Ukraine has had an immediate impact on the share market. Finance editor Gemma Acton explains.
Thanks, Peter. Worrying developments in the Ukraine war have hit sentiment, the ASX 200 slipping 19 points to 7,122. A strong showing from miners couldn't offset falls from consumer stocks and the big banks. The Aussie dollar is still marching higher. It's now buying 67.6 US cents, while iron ore is also up. That's on optimism over rising demand from China. And there are just over 30,000 available rentals across Australia, nearly half as many as a year ago. Just 1% of all rentals are available. That is a record low vacancy rate. In a balanced market for landlords and tenants, vacancy rates would be 2 to 3%. Peter.
Gemma Acton reporting. Footy champion Shane Crawford starred on the field and on television. Now he's making himself at home on the stage. The Brownlow medalist will make his theatre debut tonight as a much-loved musical returns to Melbourne.
From London's West End straight to Melbourne's Regent Theatre.
I was left alone. May I return.
A new production of the much-loved family musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Out of his comfort zone and into the spotlight, Shane Crawford.
Hey Joseph, what does it mean?
Yes, it's been a huge learning curve for me and something that I've been ready for the challenge, but I'm just tippy-toeing my way through.
The Brownlow medalist stars alongside singing sensation Paulini and Ewan Doidge as Joseph, with a supporting entourage of enthusiastic children. It's 3 decades since the musical was last staged in Melbourne.
We just want to have fun, and we want people to have fun when they come.
Well, good luck tonight.
Thank you. They say chookers. They used to say break a leg.
I was going to say break a leg, but then no, don't break a leg.
No, chookers. Everyone says chookers, and I just say, come on, let's go and get them.
Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
Good luck treading the boards, Croft. Sport is next with Tim Watson and Tim. Pat Cummins could hand back the Australian captaincy.
Mitch, he was only handed the reins of the one-day side a month ago. Hear from the skipper next. Also hear exclusively from a Bombers cult hero on the trip away that sparked a retirement backflip. Geelong champion Gary Ablett's next move back to the footy field. A Socceroos legend weighs in on our World Cup chances, plus a brave basketball star with an emotional message. Welcome back. Essendon cult hero Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti says his Indigenous roots brought him back to the Bombers. The Livewire forward telling 7 News he's keen to take on a mentoring role at Tullamarine.
A hero returns to Essendon. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti knew it was too early to walk away for good.
Everyone's like, well, you're still young yet, so you're not old to finish. So, it's great to hear all the feedback around the community that I've gone to, and I thought, well, I've still got it. I've got a bit of me.
A journey around the country with Dog Drover reigniting his passion. New coach Brad Scott pivotal to his stunning retirement backflip 6 months after bidding farewell.
It was great for me to, go away and find myself again, and what it means, I guess, for me to represent, not just Indigenous people, but everyone around Australia. So I think the trips that have helped me go again. Everyone just, give me the feedback of, how great I've done for the young kids.
Next year, those young kids will include father-sons Jaden and Alwyn Davey Jr. And should things go to plan draft night, Academy star Anthony Munkara.
It'd be great for me to share my knowledge and my experience with those boys and, hopefully see them grow.
The 29-year-old desperate to dazzle fans again, starting with a strong summer.
I'm very excited to push myself again, and I've got a lot of support by the coaches and the training staff.
Another star coming out of retirement for this weekend only. Gary Ablett jetting off to Darwin, where he'll play NTFL for the Palmerston Magpies, alongside Cats premiership teammate Matthew Stokes. Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
Australian one-day captain Pat Cummins says his reign as skipper might only last a year. Cummins has overcome illness ahead of tomorrow's clash with the best white ball team in the world.
Australia's early exit from the T20 World Cup even had Pat Cummins feeling sick to the stomach.
I just got a bug, so went through our house. Got over it pretty quickly, so wasn't going to miss this one.
After arriving in camp a day late, Cummins will captain Australia's ODI side for the first time tomorrow, but his stint at the helm could be short-lived.
This ODI captaincy, is really geared toward next year's World Cup, and beyond that, I really haven't thought more about it. We'll see how that all goes and kind of make a decision after that.
It comes after the paceman decided to forego next year's IPL, a decision he said was easy.
I think I counted about 100 days of cricket for Australia in the next 12 months. So, prioritise having a bit of a break.
The crammed cricket calendar could lead to more players specialising in the 3 forms of the game.
Over the next 4 or 5 years, I think you'll see players that, potentially play all 3 formats. They might get shifted aside for the players who play 12 months of the year in the franchise world.
As the Aussies look to prove a point against the old enemy, England is still celebrating after taking out the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, feeling tired. We've celebrated well. Days like that don't come along often in your careers.
I'll be strong, no doubt, even if a bit tired.
Natalie Yannidis, 7 News.
One of Australia's greatest ever Socceroos has come to the defence of coach Graham Arnold. Harry Kewell admits he was surprised to see Tom Rogic left out of the World Cup squad, but is still getting behind the 26-man squad in Doha.
I think we've got to be fair enough, and I think we've got to be able to accept his decision. And I think we've just got to support the team, because I think that's the main thing.
Melbourne City's Marco Tilio has been flown in to join the squad as cover for striker Martin Boyle, who's yet to begin training due to a knee injury. The Matildas were too strong for Thailand in their final international of the year.
Delivers Kerr's header, and Sam Kerr's
Builders get the very least that they deserve.
The Aussies comfortable 2-0 winners and will begin their World Cup year on a 4-match winning streak. Melbourne United basketball star Isaac Humphries has bravely revealed he's gay. The 24-year-old says he went through an extremely dark time before having the courage to come out.
A brave and emotional revelation to teammates. Isaac Humphries says he nearly ended his life.
Me becoming so low and being in that point is because I was very much struggling with my sexuality and coming to terms with the fact that I'm gay.
The decision to let everyone know, a massive weight lifted off his shoulders. He's now the only current player in any top-tier basketball league around the world to come out as gay.
Just make sure people know, that you can live and you don't have to hide just because you're an athlete.
Humphries played 5 games for the Atlanta Hawks 4 years ago, the NBA saying, "We know the real impact his honesty and courage will have on many others." The NBL and Melbourne United providing unwavering support.
Just to see the phenomenal response globally has just been overwhelming, but from the team itself, we're all standing right beside Isaac and so proud of him.
And you can still be a great basketball player and be gay. You can do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with your sexuality or who you are.
Tim Hipsley, 7 News.
Well done, Isaac. And that's sport, Mitch.
That's one of the most powerful stories you've had in a sporting break for a long, long time.
For a long time.
Indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. Melbourne Zoo is trumpeting the arrival of its first elephant calf in almost a decade. And there's more jumbo joy to come, with 2 more babies due within weeks.
Early this morning at Melbourne Zoo, the pitter-patter of giant feet.
It's up, it's standing, it's suckling, it's doing everything that a healthy little elephant calf should be doing.
A baby girl born after 22 months gestation to doting mother Dokun.
It didn't take long for us to see our new calf on the ground and watch that bonding start to take place.
It's the first birth in a baby boom, with 2 more calves on the way. Namoy and Dokun's daughter Marley, the first Australian-born female, are due over summer.
It was just lovely to see the 3 of them together, her with her mother and the new calf on the ground, all standing together and seeing that calf suckle.
In a first for the zoo, all 3 calves were naturally conceived thanks to first-time dad Luk Chai. He was brought down from Taronga Zoo specifically for the breeding program, bonding quickly with the herd. As for the newborn's name, zoo visitors will decide. We'll be reaching out and seeing what everybody thinks. We want to make sure we get it right.
The entire Asian herd will move to a new home at Werribee Zoo in 2024. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Jane Bunn is next, and Jane, please tell us there's some warmth in the forecast.
Well, Mitch, there is one more chilly day to go, but the week should end on a high note. However, it doesn't last long. The full details are next.
Hello, tonight on the latest from 7 News, a new day in Europe, new reaction there on the Poland missile strike, plus from the G20 in Bali, where the PM is speaking right now with the EU leaders. Ordering in, don't bother with Deliveroo, it's shutting down immediately. You can't even get into the app. So we'll tell you what that means for workers. When it breaks, we'll have it live, the latest tonight at 10:25.
Hello again. There's just one more day of chilly weather to go, then Friday looks absolutely lovely. Today had showers passing through, so it goes from dark and rainy to bright and sunny and repeat. Most of the cold air was this morning. In the afternoon, it reached a top of 15. Here are the showers streaming through, cold enough for wintry hail before lunch. The dry breaks in between became lengthier this afternoon. Now the showers will keep going. They're spreading out to areas of lighter drizzle this evening. This morning, the top of Mount Hotham fell to -7 degrees. That set a new record for the coldest Victorian temperature in November. Mount Buller was -6, Ballarat 2, Bendigo 3. but it's starting to thaw out. Mildura reached 20 this afternoon. Showers streamed across southern and mountain regions, breaking up as they head into the north. Yesterday's cold front left us in a chilly airflow, but now it's all about this high pressure system. We are currently on the chilly side of the high, so whenever the centre is back to our west, we have cool southerly winds. But that high should move across us tomorrow, and once it's out to our east, winds turn northerly and we warm up. So it is still chilly tomorrow. The high's not yet through. Then temperatures jump up on Friday. Now, it's not hot. This is temperatures in the 20s. It's hard to get proper heat in Lundina, but at least it'll feel rather pleasant. The warmth is short-lived. The next weather system passes through on Saturday into Sunday. Another situation where tropical moisture runs into instability. So we have the risk of heavy rain. Now, once that's through, it turns cold and showery once again. That's early next week. Now, that's what we do. We go up, then down and repeat. Around the nation tomorrow, the cool air has spread right up into southern Queensland, but it is dry from Canberra through to Brisbane with sunshine. Cloudy in Hobart tomorrow, just a bit of drizzle. Adelaide's temperatures are rising in warmer sunshine, while Perth is more than 10 degrees cooler than today, lots of showers. To Victoria, patchy morning fog in the west of the state. Drizzly showers under grey skies in the southwestern half, clearing by late afternoon with pockets of sunshine returning. It's a mix of sun and cloud in the northeastern half. Closer in, the white shows that it's grey and there are areas of drizzle underneath. That cloud may break up during the afternoon with pockets of sunshine. So the morning is looking chilly. It's grey and drizzly, but it improves during the afternoon. Sunshine later, top of 17. To the 8-day outlook, Friday should be the best day in the entire outlook. We have light winds. There's bright sunshine. It's feeling warmer, a top of 23. Still warm on Saturday, yes, top of 24, but there is the chance of some light showers during the afternoon. The risk of heavy thunderstorms, that comes on Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then a little bit of a break on Sunday morning before lots of showers in the afternoon and evening lasting into Monday. That's our next very chilly day, Monday into Tuesday, and it slowly recovers again next week. So tomorrow morning, quite chilly, grey, possibly drizzly, slowly improve in the afternoon, but I'm focusing on Friday as that's the nicest one in the outlook. Mitch, we'll enjoy it.
-7 at Mount Hotham. How about
Very
that?
chilly indeed.
Unbelievable. Thank you, Jane. Now, here's what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, Christmas comes early.
Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds in their only Australian TV interview, plus be watching for your chance to win a $10,000 Coles voucher in the Sunrise Secret Santa. See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's the way it is this Wednesday, the 16th of November. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.